Hey, so it feels important to say that when I recorded this video, I had just gotten home from the hospital. I was there, it was just like a routine visit for my kid, but it was like 4 hours, and anyway, I was really exhausted. I didn't eat, so I shoved my face full of chips, and then I realized that if I didn't do this now, that I probably wouldn't do it tomorrow, which is probably today in today's time. Wow. Anyway, so there's that. Please ignore me cleaning my mouth with my tongue. And okay. And then the next disclaimer, I guess, is I am not from the trans community. I'm not trans, I am queer. But so yeah, I'm speaking from a space of education, from what I know, from what I understand, as an inclusion educator and as somebody who is part of the LGBTQ community. I may not be trans myself. I am deeply committed to advocating the best that I can for trans lives and for trans safety, because let's face it, it is an unsafe time right now. So yeah, anyway, hope you get something from this. Hey, it's my birthday in 2 days too, so if you want to buy me a coffee or get me a gift and let me buy some weed, that'd be awesome. Okay, bye. Hey everybody. I don't really know what to talk about today. But then I was kind of given inspiration. I guess you can call it that. I think this will just be an interesting case study. So, in a local moms group that I'm in, somebody posted a question. And the question they posted was, if your 12-year-old daughter wanted a friend to sleep over, the friend is transgender, biologically a boy, would you allow the friend to sleep over in the same room as your daughter? This is an honest question. Please, no hate comments. Okay, so this was posted almost a week ago. Lots and lots of really awful comments. But that's not the point. This was my response. My response was, absolutely. You are only asking this question because of your wildly inaccurate assumptions about trans people, which is sad. First, to any and all trans folks reading this, also parents to trans kids, please know that I see these comments here. I see how hurtful it is to have people make these assumptions and stereotypes. It is absolutely mind-boggling to me how people could be so hateful towards children for no other reason than their identity. To just assume trans kids are more likely to whip their genitals out. People who sexualize trans people, and especially people who sexualize trans children, are yucky and sad people. Holy heck, do we have a lot of work to do. Secondly, this entire post stems from a place of harmful and hateful assumptions, implicit bias, and misinformation. Let's clear things up. You are talking about a 12-year-old girl here, regardless of their sex organs. They are not more or less likely to be sexually active just because they are trans. That is the assumption that you have made. This is no more dangerous than them hanging out or sleeping over with anyone else. I promise you, if your 12-year-olds want to have sex, they will. They will have sex. They may be having sex already. If you haven't prepared them for the very real eventuality that they will have sex without your knowledge or consent, then it's you who's messed up, or who has messed up. Sorry, excuse me, not messed up, like as a person. If your child isn't using protection, that's because they didn't have parents who adequately educated them and provided them with the means to care for themselves. If your 12-year-olds don't have access to birth control, that's only something that you can change. all that aside, everyone here in the comments, because there was many comments saying, touting hormones as a potential danger here, are out of touch and again making assumptions based on non-science. Even if you are transphobic, are you telling me all boys are incapable of self-regulation or respect? That's pretty sad to conclude too, isn't it? So I continued. So even if you are a transphobe and believe this girl to be a boy, you are making a really sad argument that all boys are going to try to have sex just because they're boys. It's okay to just say, I'm afraid of and don't understand trans people. If you say that honestly, it would be a lot easier to help you out. That way we can help educate you so you aren't afraid anymore. You need to have expectations for behavior in your home, and you need to prepare your kids for when they choose to be sexually active, and you need to let your kids have sleepovers with their friends if you're going to allow them to have sleepovers at all. Period. Please stop assuming trans kids are harmful. They are at so much risk, particularly right now. Trans kids are dying because of misinformation and hate. If you want to understand more and why it's not a risk, I'm happy to chat. Okay, that's what I said. Someone else commented, while I appreciate your comment, this isn't about trans anything or anything like that. I think it's just about the scary fact that things can happen and this person has boy parts. That is all. I don't think it has anything to do with them being afraid of a trans person or anything like that. And I think that's wildly assumptuous of you to say about the parent. And I said, you reading this post that way comes from a place of privilege. If it was about how to create boundaries in the home so things don't escalate sexually, they would have worded it that way. If it was about how to keep their kids safe, if they are potentially sexually active, they would have worded it that way. Instead, they made it a point to bring up the fact that this girl is trans. They made it a point to point out that they are biologically a boy. What they are actually worried about is sex, but instead of framing it that way, they pointed out the child's gender, as if that has anything to do with it. In reality, this parent is uneducated about trans folks and is making assumptions based on transphobia. And then the original poster said, gender has everything to do with my post. I don't care if the kid is trans or whatever they want to be. They have male parts that can create babies with a female. Pretty black and white. I am not transphobic, ! Not even close, ! To which I responded, your post is transphobic, but I understand that you don't see it that way. Implicit bias makes it hard for us to gauge our own views, especially when it's tied to worry around our kids. If you're concerned about their parts, your concern is actually about how to keep your child safe during their pre-sexually active years. Is that correct? Because you are worried they may have sex, right? If that's the case, my advice is make sure your daughter is educated about safe sex. If you're worried about your daughter having sex, she could be having sex with anyone. Literally, anywhere. They could be having sex whether it's a boy, a girl, a genderqueer person, etc. Your question is, my kid could be having sex during sleepovers. How do I prevent inappropriate behavior during sleepovers? The fact that you unnecessarily pointed out that this kid is trans makes this post transphobic. But I don't think that that was your intention. This is how harmful narratives stay alive. People will unintentionally use, and also intentionally, I'm just going to add that in there, unintentionally use niceness to guise their discomfort. And that's okay. You aren't alone in doing that. That doesn't make you a bad person. A lot of people do that. A lot of people do it. But when you are cognizant of it, we can then take steps to actually prevent hurting people. If you're truly not transphobic, please consider the underlying concern that you're having and address that versus this person's gender. To which the person responded to me. The original poster said, so if I left out the part about being trans and just being a boy because that is what gender they are, is that what I should have stated? Just a boy-girl sleepover? ? And I said to them, no, because they aren't a boy. They are a girl. Your concern is about sex and pregnancy. Your daughter could be having sex with any of her friends, regardless of their gender expression. Your worry is that your kid... Sorry, I lost my thought. Your worry is that your kid may become sexually active and become pregnant. You ask it like this. My kid wants to have sleepovers with her friends. I'm not sure how to approach ensuring my kid isn't engaging in unsafe sex at sleepovers and want to hear what other parents' opinions are. Because again, you're being transphobic by 1, misgendering this girl because the original poster called her a boy. 2, assuming because of her biological sex that she is more dangerous. And 3, that because of her biological sex, she is more likely to want to sleep with your daughter, which also isn't true. So all of those assumptions are harmful and incorrect. And then I added another thought. I said, again, I think your concern is stemming from a genuine place of wanting to prevent your child from sexual activities they aren't prepared for. I encourage you to consider that. The lack of preparedness is what you're worried about here, not the kids themselves. Safe sex is important, regardless of who your kid decides to engage in sex with. I would encourage you to ask her about birth control, condoms, what she knows about those things. From there, I would say that now that she's older, you don't feel comfortable with share beds or whatever it is for you that makes you feel better and that are your boundaries in your home. Either way, it's pregnancy that you're worried about, then address the pregnancy. To which somebody else, the first person who commented to me, said, it's the penis ejaculating! ! Nothing to do with transphobia. To which I said, in all capital letters, yes, which means it's about sexual protection and not the fact this kid was born with a penis. To which they said, yes, so why in your comment did you make it about transphobia, anger, and ? And I said, because pointing out this kid is trans has nothing to do with the core fear of this parent. It is transphobic to consider not inviting somebody because they are trans. It's not because they are trans that they are worried. They are worried their kid could get pregnant, so they need to say that. Mentioning their friend is trans is unnecessary and leaves room for the multiple transphobic comments that have stemmed from this post. You clearly haven't read my response, because I've given really clear and concise ways into which this is transphobic and in which ways this could be worded in order to avoid transphobia, but instead you choose to just argue with me. You want to hold on so tightly to not being seen as transphobic that you're ignoring when you actually are being transphobic. To which she replied, but she said no rude comments and was not wishing to get to this level, I'm sure. Some of us are not as woke and are truly just wondering. To which I replied, and I, as an educator, offered her free education on how to better ally herself as someone who is actively trying to not be transphobic. Impact over intent. Just because she doesn't want to be transphobic, that doesn't mean she isn't. We all have things to unlearn, and it's okay to be unsure. What's not okay is defending our position so deeply without taking the time to critically reflect. This isn't about this child's gender. It's about safe sex and sexual education, and if you can't see that, then I can't help you any further. To which she said, got it. But thank you for your opening few comments and having a name calling people uneducated. Have a great day and good luck with educating others. To which I said, being uneducated isn't an insult. We are all uneducated in different areas of our lives, and learning isn't a threat. Take care.